I'm absolutely flabbergasted. I don't know what else to say. This is one of the most shocking Hall of Fame announcements I've ever seen in my life. Welcome, everybody, to JG9 News, where we talk all things NFL all the time. I'm Jared here, and I represent the 904 from the 602. And today, we are talking about something I did not think I was going to have to talk about. Chargers tight end Antonio Gates, one of the greatest of all time, eligible for the Hall of Fame on the first ballot. He was a finalist this year. We thought he was going to be a lock to get in first ballot alongside Julius Peppers. And as it turns out, he is not making the Hall of Fame this year. One of the most shocking announcements maybe in the history of the Hall of Fame. 955 catches, 11,841 yards, 116 touchdowns, the most receiving touchdowns by any tight end of all time. And Antonio Gates, despite all of that, is not getting in on the first ballot, which is absolutely shocking, especially in a field like this, where there weren't a whole lot of first ballot guys that were really enticing besides Julius Peppers. Everyone above him, in terms of receiving touchdowns, is in the Hall of Fame except for Larry Fitzgerald, who's not eligible yet. And excluding guys who aren't eligible yet, so active players and whatnot, everyone within 30 touchdowns of him is in the Hall of Fame. The guy that is eligible, that has the most receiving touchdowns that is not in the Hall of Fame, is Hines Ward. He is 85. Antonio Gates has 116. How on earth is Antonio Gates not making the Hall of Fame this year? Now, you figure he gets it next year, but that makes things very interesting for next year because you have a stacked class when it comes to first ballot guys that are going to be on there. Luke Kuechly of the Carolina Panthers, Eli Manning, two-time Super Bowl champion, Terrell Suggs, Marshall Yanda, Adam Vinatieri, Earl Thomas. You figured you might get 3 in on the first ballot, almost like what happened with Peyton Manning, Charles Woodson, and Calvin Johnson, because that was a stacked class. You figure you might get 3 in, but now with this news, you figure Antonio Gates is going to get next year. So you might only get 2. So Kuechly, Manning, Suggs, Yanda, Vinatieri, Thomas. Kuechly, Manning, Vinatieri, I think was the pick for a lot of people, but Kuechly, Manning, Vinatieri, I'm not sure you got room for all 3 of them. I don't think you have room for all 3 of them on the first ballot next year because Antonio Gates is going to take up one of the spots, which is absolutely insane that it comes to that point because you figured he was an absolute lock to make the Hall of Fame this year. I have no clue what the voters are thinking. Again, he's one of the greatest tight ends of all time. He might be a top 5 tight end of all time. At the absolute worst, he's a top 10 tight end. Now, as should note, it is extremely tough for anyone to get in on the first ballot, especially a tight end. Obviously, Tony Gonzalez get on the first ballot, but many other tight ends did not do it that were very, very good players. Shannon Sharpe retired after 2003, had to wait a few years to get in before getting inducted in 2011. Ozzie Newsome, one of the best of all time, retired after the 1990 season. He had to wait until 1999 to get in. Kellen Winslow was not a first ballot guy. He retired after 1987. He only got in 1995. Jackie Smith, one of the best tight ends ever, retired after 1978 season. Infamous drop at Super Bowl 13. Bless his heart, got to be a six-man America. He only got in 1994. John Mackey, it took him a while, retired in 72, got in 92. Ditka retired in 72, got in 88. Dave Casper, took him 18 years to get into the Hall of Fame. So it does take a while for a lot of tight ends to get in. Tony Gonzalez is really the only first ballot guy you can think of at that position. But still, you would think the guy that's the all-time leader in touchdowns for tight ends would bypass all of that, especially in a field like this. That's what makes this news all the more shocking. And Antonio Gates, despite being on an all-decade team, despite 8 Pro Bowls, despite nearly 1,000 catches, despite having the most receiving touchdowns by any tight end of all time, he is going to have to wait another year. You figure he's getting in the Hall of Fame at some point, but 2024, to the shock of just about everyone, is not going to be the year. But what are your thoughts on this? Do you think Antonio Gates should be in the Hall of Fame? Are you as surprised by this as I am? Let me know in the comments down below. And that's going to do it for this episode of JG9 News. Be sure you like and subscribe. It helps the channel out a lot. And be sure to check out my main channel, Jared9, where we talk all things NFL history all the time. Until next time, this is Jared9 signing off. And as always, go Jags.